Tips from Trestle is brought to you by Wiseox AI, Advantage Trust GPO, the Dining with Dementia Workshop, and the 100% Leader. Welcome to Tips from Trestle, the Senior Living Food and Hospitality Podcast. This podcast explores the senior living industry with a unique focus on food, hospitality, and the community experience. I'm your host, Aaron Fish. My goal for this podcast: educate, inform, and inspire leaders in senior living. How? By bringing the resident and customer experience to the front of mind in our industry. We should bring the passionate spirit of food and hospitality to everything that we do and everyone we serve each and every day. So what are we waiting for? Let's get to it.
So with us today is Angela Brigance. Angela is a passionate advocate for senior care with over 32 years of experience in a senior living setting. As an author, educator, and public speaker, she shares her wealth of knowledge on dementia care and navigating the senior journey. Angela's career is driven by her dedication to improving the lives of seniors, starting from both professional expertise and personal experience as a family caregiver. Angela, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
So talk briefly a little bit more about you and your background.
Well, in 32 years, I've done everything, home care, skilled nursing, assisted living, memory care specific, you name it. I've probably been in that part of the industry and have been mostly executive director or higher in senior living with assisted living and memory care. In 2018, I wrote my book on dementia and was able to travel across the United States and even got to go to China and spend time in China just before COVID and do some consulting there, and love what I do and love to share what I do.
Yeah, and when we connected, it was fascinating because I learned that you have an expertise and a passion, not just for the senior living industry, but for how language and how the words we use can impact your team, how you lead. And I'd love to talk about that in more depth. So let's just start. So I'm going to probably butcher this, but neuro-linguistic programming, right?
You did
So
great.
how does that relate to leadership communication? Kind of define it for us. And then what principle does it teach about our negative language?
Sure. I've been studying neuro-linguistic programming, or we call it NLP, make it short and sweet, for way too many years, decades. And a few years ago, I became a master practitioner in human interaction technologies, which is really an in-depth study of the language that we use and the behaviors that are created from when we use certain words or do certain actions, how something can change everything we do, something very minute. So neuro-linguistic programming is really basically the study of language and how it affects the brain, how it affects outcome.
And, when we were chatting, we had a lot of conversation around negative language, positive directions, negative directions. And so when you think about all the experience you've had learning and applying the NLP, why is it more effective to give positive directions rather than telling team members what not to do?
It's, we started off as children hearing no, don't do that, no, stop, a little bit. But the brain actually takes the negative words and takes it out. So if I tell my grandson, don't climb on the counter, what I'm really saying is climb on the counter. So when I tell my staff, don't put the garbage can full in the back hallway, I'm saying put the garbage can full in the back hallway. And the brain is like, there's a part that doesn't remember. And part of that is very simple because we haven't told them what we really want them to do. It's much simpler for our staff to be successful and to feel that they met your expectation and to feel proud of what they do if they know what to do. Because if you say, don't put the garbage can in the back hallway, can I put it there if it's empty instead of full? Can I put it in the stairwell? What about if it's full in the stairwell, if it's empty in the stairwell? What do you want me to do with the garbage? None of those questions are answered. So they're going to guess, best guess on what you want them to do. Instead of saying, when the garbage can is full, take it out to the dumpster and put the empty can here. They know exactly what to do, and they can feel successful every time they do it. Because when they meet your expectation, they feel proud. They feel happy. I don't have to worry about it. I'm not getting in trouble. I know what to do. And making that simple is the easiest way to build your team. But we get in this habit of don't do that. Don't make the bed that way. Don't forget to do this. So you're saying, forget to do this. Tell people what you want them to do instead of what you don't want them to do. When I was in home care, I would say, I'd have the family go, don't give my mom peas. Okay. Does that mean she likes green beans? Can I give her favish, which is a Portuguese bean? Does she even know what that is? What do you want them to have? It's with our families. If you think about medication orders, when I think about nurses, they know how to do this because they get from the pharmacy what the medication is, how to give it, when to give it, parameters to give it, all that information's there. So think about your language of where you want something or how you want something done being put in that same clarity of a medication order.
When, something that you said there that really caught my attention, and it was something simple, right? And like very small, be like don't versus do, right? And so when we think about that the way we speak to our staff and how we lead them, how can changing just that one word or one small little phrase like that, from something like short staff to challenge, how does it not be performers? How does it change their mindset? Like, I want to deep dive into that a little bit. Can you come back?
One word. Yeah, language, language, 7% of language is words, what we say. How we say it, our facial expressions, it all is 93%. But one word can make the difference between something getting done or not done. My staff all know, all my team knows, the word short-staffed is taboo. Because short-staffed means excuse for not getting it done. We were short-staffed. I couldn't get that shower done. I couldn't do this. But when we changed that word to challenged, they said, I'm challenged. I can meet that challenge. We can meet that challenge together. We can make this work. So the brain goes from an excuse not to do something to how can I problem solve this and get it done? It goes into problem solving mode. How can we make it happen? And when the brain is looking for ways to make it happen, it finds it. It is searching all the time on how to solve the problem. So if the problem is I'm challenged and I need to get these tasks done, the brain is going to look for all the ways it can get it done. Instead of I'm short-staffed, the brain says, don't worry about it. You got a reason not to do it.
Does that have to do with, I read about like humans are very much like pattern driven and like that we look for patterns in everything. Is that any part of that? Or I guess what's the underlying cause of what makes us do that? The way we're wired or what is that?
It's the way the brain is wired. It is, you either give it a challenge or you give it an excuse. There's a reason not to do something, or you're giving it a challenge. It's the same people you'll see about people talking about visions and a vision board and seeing what you want to do. As soon as you put that vision out there, you start to see things that match or drive that vision. It's the same thing as if you're pregnant, you see everybody pregnant. If you just bought a new car, you're going to see that car over and over and over. The brain automatically looks for that symmetry. So you give it things to look for. Your brain wants to work. Your brain really, it has tons of opportunity. There's so much going on in our brains all the time. Give it something to do that's going to benefit you and benefit your team in the long run.
Yeah, and that all clicks. I'm literally sitting here when you used the example of the cars, like we recently just purchased a new vehicle, and I'm like, they're everywhere.
Yes.
Maybe not the exact same color, but I see the model all over the
See
place.
it. You'll see attorneys can do that in courtrooms. They'll say something about yellow, the yellow shirt, the yellow this, and the next day the jurors will come back more dressed in yellow than any other color.
That's fascinating. It just
It is
fascinates
the
me.
power of suggestion in the brain. So when we suggest they could get something done, the brain goes, how do I get it done?
So, thinking about the psychology of something like that, I think that a great little segue to kind of talk about the power of phrasing. And so, thinking of a phrase, especially when we deal with upset people, right? Like we always have upset employees, upset residents, upset family members.
Yeah.
Obviously, at leaders, we've got to tackle that. We got to
Yeah.
provide the fix to make them happy. And so, if we use a phrase like "you're right," how does that work psychologically on the person we're dealing with, as opposed to maybe negating them?
When someone's ready to argue with you, like you ever had a family or a team member, they come and they are ready. I am ready to argue, and I know you're going to defend your team. You're going to do whatever it takes, and I'm ready to argue with you. I've got all my things lined up for you. When you tell someone who's upset like that and ready to argue, and you say you're right, brain goes, what? What's going on? What do you mean I'm right? And it gives you 4 to 5 seconds to introduce information that is taken as truth. Because the
Mm.
brain is confused. You're confusing the brain. It's part of hypnotic language. You confuse the brain, so what you say next is taken as truth. So as soon as they're ready to argue with you, you're like, you're right. Say a family member comes in, mom wasn't ready to go out when she was supposed to go out. She told the staff that she was wanted to be ready. It's a special occasion, and she wasn't. And they come to you and they're upset and they're angry, and you're like, you're right. I can see that you're devastated. Mom wasn't ready. You really wanted her to look her best for this event. I'm not sure what happened, but I'm going to find out what happened, and I'm going to get back with you and tell you what happened. What can I do right now to help you? How can I make sure mom looks good right now? So the brain goes, she was ready for me to do defense. I'm not saying that something didn't happen. I'm not agreeing with her. We did something wrong. I'm just saying, you're right. You're upset. You're devastated. Mom wasn't ready. That's it. That's all I'm saying you're right to. Then I'm saying, and I'm going to do these things to correct it, to make it better, to fix it right now, or to get back to you. There's kind of a little step. You're saying you're listening. You're saying you're right. Acknowledging their emotion, that's devastating not to know, or that's frustrated. I could see how frustrated you are. Because the brain goes, yeah, you're right. I am frustrated. And you see that and you recognize why I'm upset. Recognizing those things is they're like, yes, yes, typical sales. Yes. Ah, the brain again accepts that last piece because you said you've got them agreeing with you again and again and again so that you can get to this point. And as long as we follow through and make that phone call or find out what happened and get back with them, you have solved a problem and made a customer who is more loyal to you than a customer who never had an issue in the past. I tell every family, I'm going to fail you at some point. It's what we do. When that happens, it's going to make the difference. And when I acknowledge them like that, and I get back with them, or I find out what's going on and get them information, things are better and they're stronger with us at that time.
Yeah, and as listening to you, one of the things I think about, and everybody I think is talking about this more and more when it comes to promoting your communities or talking to prospects, is being authentic. And so when I hear you talk through this, I think it gives you that opportunity to be more authentic and being able to say, like you said, I am going to fail you. Our team is going to fail you. Hopefully, it's not dramatic. And when it does happen, we're going to figure out and fix it and try and improve from it. And I think people really connect more with that because It's
Mhm.
that human nature. We know we've all made mistakes. We all have screwed up somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
And so when I think about like teaching leadership or kind of getting something ingrained in people's minds, I always like either acronyms or processes or something like that. And you have a kind of a four-step approach that
Mhm.
you use for diffusing tense
Yeah.
situations with family members. And I'd love for you to kind of go into detail. You gave us an example when we first connected, and let's talk more about that.
So that first part is that you're right. That's always the first step. You're right. This happened, or you're feeling this. Acknowledge them, tell them the right so they can hear the rest of it. Because when you're defensive or you're angry or you're upset, you're heartbroken, you hear nothing. But as soon as they know you're right, and then that second part is really, you're right. This is what happened. And then acknowledging their emotions. Those are the first three steps. You're right. This happened. You're devastated. Those are the three steps that really get them to stop and listen to you. Because until that point, they're just ready to argue with you and they're ready
Right.
for the next argument. They are planning what they're saying next. But when you say you're right and acknowledge what they said, you're actively listening, basic listening, communication skills, and then you acknowledge the emotion they're showing. That really is that connection. That's that personal, interpersonal connection of, I hear you. I see what you're going through. I know what you're feeling. And those are like in neurolinguistic programming, that's that auditory person who hears, the visual person who sees, or that kinesthetic person who feels. You're connecting with that person, whoever they are, make it, and they'll hear you better, or they'll understand. I'm very auditory, so I say hear a lot.
Yeah.
Um, they'll understand you better. And then once they have that, then you could give them, and this is what we're going to do next. So you have that, you're right. Here's the issue. Here's the emotion. And here's what we're doing. Here's the behavior you're going to see us do to help with that. It's a simple four steps. None of neurolinguistic programming is rocket science hard to do, but our brains felt that way.
Mhm.
It's our staff. I love my staff. I'm going to defend my staff. I'm going
Yeah.
to defend what's going on, or, I'm going to defend the department head if I'm dealing with a caregiver. But I have to stop and listen first and then say, I'm going to come back, because then I can come back more centered, take a deep breath, make sure I'm grounded, I'm centered, and I'm ready to have another conversation.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, right? Because we're all, I think when we are dealing with those complaints, I know sometimes I have this problem. Like it comes to us and we are immediately defensive.
Mhm.
And by doing what you just said, I mean, we're basically that defense. You're just taking it and like peeling it away one layer at a time, and opening them up. And I think that's so kind of invaluable. As we kind of wrap up this part of the conversation, I did want to ask, why do you feel, or why in the neuro-linguistic practice of language, is it important to use intentional language? What advice would you give everybody about that, and how can you implement that?
Intentional language is all about thinking about what the word's going to mean to someone else and how it's going to affect the brain. Is it going to give it that challenge to find a solution? Is it going to move things along, or are you going to get just a reactive reaction, a defensive reaction, or an emotional reaction? So using intentional language is, let's find the word that's going to be positive, that's going to move things forward, because none of us want to go backwards.
Right.
None of us want to go backwards. We
Absolutely.
want to go forward. We want to move through the language and get past whatever's going on so we can get stronger as a team, so that families trust us more. And think it's so simple. There's so many words that we don't even think about that, we say all the time. And I catch myself. It's not easy to go from a negative language point or a negative correction to looking at the positive. I think my biggest compliment is I had a department head team that said when I wasn't there one day, they came back and told me, they said, someone brought a problem. They said, well, it's not what to do. Does Angela want to do? What does she want us to do? Is getting a to think about what do you want? What response do you want? And how do we get there?
Yeah. I love that your team has bought in with that, and that by setting them up with that intentional language, they're able to be successful and grow as leaders themselves. So that's
Mhm.
super impressive. So I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but
Yeah.
if there were one takeaway that you could tell us in 90 seconds, 2 minutes, a couple of minutes time, what would you want anybody who would hear this or who's been on this to really take away from all of this about the value of this language of leadership?
Let's see. I think being aware of the words you use and the effect it's having, and being able to honestly look at something that's going on, like here's the problem presented to you. How have we gone at it in the past? How might we change to move something from telling someone what not to do and how to do it? And I always started with my department heads.
Yeah.
If I'm going to do this, I start with my department heads. I use the language with them. It becomes their language, which makes it much easier to get it down to your line staff and to your families. Because the more they hear it, the more they respond, the more they'll use it, and the more impact you'll see. And we're not going to get it 100% of the time. We're not going to get it right all the time. And we're going to give ourselves grace, and we're going to listen for opportunities. And when you hear an opportunity, it's that time to step back for a moment and go, what could I have done? How might I change that? I didn't get the results I wanted, because the neuro-linguistic programming, one of their beliefs is the results you get is in direct relation to the language you used.
Yeah.
So if you don't get the result you want, change the language. And we have opportunities when we work with dementia, residents affected by dementia, we have an opportunity to redo it 1,000 times a day. They always give us another opportunity to try again. We have that opportunity with our staff and our families and everyone we come in contact with. We have the opportunity to say, that didn't come out like I wanted it to, the results, and I'm going to try it differently next time.
No, I love that. It's a great way, I think, to leave this conversation. So, Angela, again, thank you so much for being with us here today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Well, let's do some announcements from our partners. So I will turn it over to you, Miss Nancy, to kind of give us an update on what's coming up with Georgia Senior Living over the next month or so until our next cocktail conversation.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much, Angela. That was so wonderful. Thank you so much. I could talk to you for hours about this. So I appreciate you. Um, so GSLA's got a couple things coming up. Tomorrow, we'll be in Augusta. We're gonna have a lunch and learn on medication management. So excited about that. We also have our annual tech summit coming up in mid-April on April 16th, I believe. And then we'll be back here for cocktails and conversations. I think that's also kind of in the same week. Is that 17th? Is that right?
It is. What a
Yeah.
great segue. April 17th, 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central. We are excited. We have convinced Katie Rayner, GSLA's very own. She's going to join us. She's going to join me, and we're going to talk about the power of mentoring. So please be on the lookout for the link to the deck that will be sent out soon. Watch your email inboxes, whether you get emails from GSLA or FSLA or even Trestle and myself. We'll be putting that out there so you can find it and come join us. I think it's going to be, I love talking to Katie, and I kind of view her a little bit as a mentor because I've had so many great conversations with her about the industry and selling days and everything she does. And I think it's going to be an amazing stat. So definitely
What's
looking
funny,
forward
Aaron?
to
I
that.
think she probably has like 20 unknown mentees, and she doesn't even know it.
Well, it's not like I could go and grill her every week or so with email. Usually it's like every couple of months we have a conversation or there's an email that we get on a Zoom call about something. So and I would take something away that's going to be a fascinating conversation for sure.
Agreed.
So, all right. Well, again, thank you everybody for joining us today on Cocktails and Conversations, and we look forward to seeing you next month for our next installment. So, thank you everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
So there it is, everybody. Another one in the books. Thanks again for tuning in. Please follow, like, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to follow us on social media at Tips from Trestle. You can also learn more about the work I do by following me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. And be sure to check out Trestle Hospitality Concepts at www.trestlehospitalityconcepts.com. I'm your host, Aaron Fish, and this has been another episode of Tips from Trestle.